Hi, I'm Erica and I live fully off-grid with my husband and 2 kids. We are all about living intentionally and as healthfully as possible. That includes food. So today I'm going to share some easy, healthy, homemade snack ideas that we love. I freeze mashed banana for a granola bar recipe that I absolutely love. So these bags have 1.5 cups of mashed banana that I have frozen just when I have had extra bananas. Mash them up, freeze them, and then I can use them to make these granola bars whenever I want. I love this recipe because there's no added sugar. It's just the sugar from the bananas and in the chocolate chips if you want to add those. I always double this recipe and make 2 9x13 pans, resulting in 36 granola bars. And I just keep them in a Ziploc bag in the freezer, and we enjoy them for weeks after this. You can get the exact recipe and measurements for these granola bars in my freezer meal collection, which I'll leave linked down below. But basically it's just mash a couple of bananas, mix in some vanilla, and then some rolled oats and whatever other add-ins you'd like to add. So I usually add a couple types of nuts or seeds, coconut flakes, always chocolate chips because I love chocolate chips. And we use dark chocolate chips. Whatever you want, a pinch of salt, mix it up really well, put it in a 9x13 and bake it at 350 for 22-25 minutes. And you'll have a beautiful granola bar that'll store for months in the freezer and that thaws in just a few minutes. While we finish making these, let's just chat about snacks. So we are a snack-loving family. Not so much my husband, but the rest of us. I am always either pregnant or nursing or lifting weights and trying to gain strength, so I'm always hungry, it seems. So it's essential for me to have snacks on hand. I have 2 requirements for snacks. They need to be nutritionally dense and easy. Let's talk about easy snacks for a minute. I have seen many videos on YouTube of moms making snacks, and they're really quite impressive snacks, like homemade pretzel crackers and homemade goldfish crackers and homemade Pop-Tarts and these types of things where they take quite a bit of time to make. And I'm not against things like that. I love experimenting and trying new fun things in the kitchen. But when it comes to these snacks that I'm making all the time, I do not want to be using a little fish cookie cutter to cut out 1,000 fish crackers. Like, that's just not an effective use of my time at this stage in my life. So something like this granola bar recipe where I just mix up a big bowl, flatten it out into 2 pans, bake them, cut them up with a knife. I see a lot of people also individually wrapping these in parchment paper and then putting them in the freezer in a bag. And that's also an extra step that I think is just a total waste of time. If you're going to eat these regularly, you don't have to do that. So I can just cut them up, throw them on a Ziploc bag and in the freezer. And it probably takes me about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes to make these, bake them, cut them up and freeze them. And they'll last us for about a month. I really like these for traveling as well. We live far from the big city, so when we do take a trip in, it's nice to take some snacks along. And we always do because I try to avoid buying food out at all costs, basically. But I just throw a couple of these into a container and they thaw while we're on our way. And whenever someone's hungry, they can have a granola bar. I remember when I first got married about 9 years ago, and I was trying to make more things from scratch. I made a granola bar recipe that was just full of peanut butter and honey, and looking back, it was so sweet and sugary. My taste buds have changed a lot since I've tried to lessen my sugar intake. So that's something that I can attest to. If you and your kids are used to really sugary snacks and foods, if you just start to slowly tone down the sugar, your taste buds will adjust, and those things that you used to really enjoy before will become way too sweet, and the things that you thought weren't sweet enough will be just perfect. And that's what I feel about these bars. They're just the perfect amount of sweetness. They're so customizable too. You can add whatever nuts, seeds, other types of add-ins you want. I did cranberries along with chocolate chips once upon a time, and that was absolutely delicious. I loved it. I found the problem with cranberries though is it's really hard to find some without added vegetable oil, which we try to avoid. So I guess the solution to that is I need to just buy some fresh cranberries from the store and dry them myself. I love sweet snacks like granola bars, but I've also been learning a lot about how important it is to keep our blood sugar levels stable. And when you eat something like a granola bar on its own, it will give you a blood sugar spike, which is not good. So I always try to incorporate some little bit of protein or fiber in as well if I'm going to be eating a sugary snack like that, even though it's like so low sugar. So hard-boiled eggs is one of my go-tos. I have one of these for a snack probably every day. So I like to just do some all at once and then have them in the fridge ready to go whenever I need them, and my 4-year-old and 1-year-old also enjoy them. I bring the water to boil in the pot, put the eggs in, set the timer for 10 minutes, then immediately take them off and douse them in cold water. Sometimes I add some ice cubes, sometimes I don't. Let them cool all the way, put them in the fridge, and they peel really easily and are perfect inside. I did an entire video dedicated to my homemade electrolyte drink mix, but I just wanted to give it a little mention here that we make our own electrolytes, and it's so much cheaper than buying a good quality electrolyte drink mix. I mix mine with pineapple juice for the added whole food vitamin C, and then add water. I use a quart jar, fill it up the rest of the way with water, and this has helped me to have better energy, and I've just felt so much more hydrated. So I'll leave link to that video here, as well as a blog post I have on how to make that. Another quick, high protein, easy snack idea is just cheese. I feel like we overcomplicate snacks sometimes and just forget these whole foods that everybody loves and are very filling, make a great snack. So I don't eat cheese very much. Dairy bothers me a lot. But my daughter loves it. It's a great snack for her, and I added a little plum on the side. We had some extra plums from dehydrating and making prunes, and I did a whole video on that as well. I'll leave that linked here too if you're interested. That's another great snack, is just dried fruit. We love dried plums. Yet another great option that is high protein is hummus. And there's so many different ways that you can use hummus. There's different ways that you can flavor hummus. I usually just go with a classic garlic, lemon juice, tahini hummus. Just a few simple ingredients, throw them in the blender, blend them up till they're smooth, adjust the taste here or there if you need to. But it's pretty quick, and you can make enough to last, probably a week, and it's delicious. I don't have my own hummus recipe, but I'll link below the one that has been my go-to for years now. So simple and easy, and I love it every time. The ingredients are garlic, lemon juice, tahini, salt, cumin, olive oil, and chickpeas. Now, the argument could be made that I'm not making this totally from scratch because I'm using bottled lemon juice and canned chickpeas. And I allow myself plenty of grace in the kitchen. I don't do absolutely everything from scratch. I just do what makes sense. I don't use chickpeas or beans very often, so I just keep a couple of cans on hand, and I don't bother about, soaking and cooking those myself. And same with the lemon juice. I use it regularly enough that I want it on hand, but not enough that I'm gonna use up lemons if I keep them in my fridge. So just do what works for you, do what makes sense. Don't be a perfectionist about these things. Do what you can to make things from scratch most of the time, and the rest of the time just be happy and live your life. Usually we have hummus with some veggies. Often it is carrot sticks or cucumber slices. That's just what I tend to keep on hand as far as fresh veggies go. But you could also eat it with some crackers. I've got a really delicious sprouted wheat healthy cracker recipe on my website. I'll leave that linked here as well, that we make once in a while. Hummus will store in your fridge for about a week, and it's really nice to have on hand, not just for snacks, but as an addition to meals. Like there's this one really great meal we make. It's kind of like a taco salad, but it's got more of a Moroccan flair with the hummus and all the toppings. It's so good. You can also get this recipe in my freezer meal collection linked below. Another option that we don't do very often, but we do occasionally, is just nuts. There's so many different kinds. You can eat them plain or you can dress them up. I've got a delicious honey roasted cashew recipe that I'll link below. And I've also done candied walnuts, and you don't need very much sugar to make these taste like a real treat. These are also great for traveling. You can just have a little bag or container of them in your bag for situations when you're out and you need a snack or your child needs a snack. Nuts are more healthy if you soak them to remove the phytic acid, but we eat them so infrequently that I don't bother to do that anymore. However, if you're interested, I do have a blog post on that. It's pretty easy and simple to do. You really can't go wrong with seasonal produce. In the summer, we have things like frozen grapes, watermelon, peaches, plums, whatever is available. And this year in our greenhouse, we grew snap peas, and so sometimes we would just go out there and pick a little handful for our morning snack. I mentioned in another video that frozen grapes are a staple snack in our house in the summertime. Super easy. Buy a bunch of grapes, wash them, take them off the stems, and store them in Ziploc bags in the freezer, and they make a really delicious, refreshing treat on a hot summer day. Most people don't consider granola a snack. It's more of like a breakfast food, but in our house it is a snack, and it's a pretty good one. Obviously not for on the go, but for at home if you just want a little quick something. Having a little bowl of granola with some frozen blueberries is one of my favorite things to snack on. So I have a really simple, healthy recipe on my blog that I'll link below. It's called Coconut Oil Granola, and it's very simple. Honey and coconut oil, you melt it down and then add some vanilla extract. And then it's very similar to the granola bar recipe because the base is the rolled oats, and then you can add, again, whatever nuts, seeds, other add-ins you would like. If you want to add chocolate chips to a granola, of course, you want to add it afterwards once the granola has cooked and cooled fully so they don't melt. And the same thing with any sort of dried fruit like raisins or mangoes or whatever you want to add. I would add that after it's cooked. It is so much cheaper to make your own granola than to buy it from the store. And if you're concerned about healthy eating and you're trying to find a healthier granola to buy, that is even harder because even most of the quote-unquote healthy granolas that I've seen still have questionable ingredients like seed oils and corn syrup and things like that I just don't want to eat. So it's really not worth it. You can take an hour to prepare 4 9x13 pans of granola, keep it in the freezer, and you'll be stocked for a long time. I buy organic sprouted rolled oats from Costco. The brand is called 1 Degree Organics. I believe you can get them on Amazon as well. I'll link them down below if so. But using sprouted oats is a lot better than just regular rolled oats because the sprouting process reduces the phytic acid in the oats, making the grain easier to digest and more of the nutrients available. I got these giant half-sheet baking pans that take up an entire oven rack, and I use them instead of 2 9x13s when I double this recipe. I wanted to switch to stainless steel bakeware, not the usual non-stick stuff, because I know that's full of chemicals that I don't want to have in my house and bake with. So I'll leave a link to these below. I really loved them. Great for putting a whole chicken on to roast, and for this granola recipe and cookies and whatever else you want to put in your oven. So with granola, you do need to be around while it's baking because every 8 to 10 minutes you've got to just stir it up a bit. Otherwise, the edges will burn and it won't bake evenly. But you only have to do this a couple of times because it takes about 25 minutes to bake. Once the granola is done, you want it to cool completely before you store it. So I just let it sit out. And then I break it up and scoop it into my containers. I don't have the best containers for this. I just have some old plastic coconut oil and salt containers. Eventually I'll move away from plastic, but I'm still using it somewhat. I really just try to avoid putting warm or hot foods into plastic containers. So this is cooled, so I'm not too worried about it. So good with yogurt or milk and some fruit or berries. Let me know in the comments what your favorite go-to healthy homemade snacks are. I always love more ideas, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.